Okay, everyone, welcome to the web class. All right, guys. Thank you all for making the time to join the webinar. I'm super pumped to have you guys. I want to clarify two things before we start the webinar, okay? As this webinar is about growing your audience and income as a yoga teacher, and I think there are two things that are important for you guys to know to frame this whole thing, okay? So the first thing is that whatever you hear me talk about in this webinar, I'm not trying to preach the ultimate solution to your problems. I will just show you what has worked for us. Okay. And I think it makes a big difference because I'm really not shaking my finger and saying, you should do this, you should do that. There are a million ways that you can succeed. And I hope that I can share some stuff that's valuable for you. And I don't want you to think that you're doing anything wrong because I really don't know. But what I do know is that the stuff that we did gave us certain results and it's worked. And we've done it with doyou.com and with a bunch of other yoga teachers and creators, and it's worked for them too. So that is the one thing. Now, the second thing I want to say is you don't need to worry. There's not going to be a sales pitch at the end of this presentation. Okay, so relax. We're not trying to sell you anything. I'm just sharing this because it's something that we've been working on for a couple of years now with a lot of teachers. And I think this is valuable and I hope to share it with you and maybe you can take some value out of it. Okay, so just relax, kick back, and yeah, just enjoy the web class. If you have any questions along the way, there's the chat box. The webcast has 5 sections. So after each section, you guys have the chance to ask questions. All right, guys, let me quickly answer this one because you might be wondering, who is this guy? I'm the guy who started doyou.com, formerly known as DoYou Yoga. This was about 10 years ago. I started at absolute zero. I remember back then I was literally had $7 in the bank and tried to start a business from scratch. And because I didn't have any money, I had to find like alternative ways to grow the business. And I know that a lot of people or some of you are probably in the same position, right? You cannot spend thousands and thousands of dollars on ads or a website or an app or whatever. And the stuff that I'll talk about is bootstrapped tactics that I used and that we used in DoYou to grow organically. During that process of building DoYou, I stumbled upon like a 5-step system for growth. And this wasn't a conscious thing. It wasn't like something that I actually came up with. I just noticed after the fact, like, oh, these are things that I always do. And then once DoYou grew, we turned that actually into a process, into a 5-step process. What happened in this 5-step process or using this and applying this? We grew doyou.com to 1.2 million members, 1.5 million social followers on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and others. Google traffic went through the roof. Our email list went up to 1.5 million, multi-million-dollar revenue. And then we worked with a lot of great teachers. And we applied that system to them as well, because that's probably what you are wondering now, like, how is this relevant for me? And after a couple of years, we started working with some really awesome teachers. Live in Leggings, Brian Kest, who's the founder of Power Yoga, David Robson, Sri Dharma Mitra out of New York, Faith Hunter, Daniel Rama, and a bunch of others. And we help them apply this system to their brand as well and to help them monetize their audience. But more importantly, we've done this with teachers on all levels. So we've done it with teachers that are only starting out. So for example, this one is one of my favorite stories. This is Sophie Van. He started at totally zero and we worked with her and her YouTube channel went up to 270,000 subscribers. So the system has worked for all levels of teachers. Okay. So I want you to know that because I want you to know that this is relevant for you. And I want you to know that this is not some complicated hocus pocus or something, right? Like the stuff that I'm going to show you is a 5-step process that you can use right now and you can apply it hopefully to your business. And I'll show you how it works. I'll show you exactly how it works. And I'll tell you some stories along the way of how we've done it for others as well. Okay, cool. So I'm going to break down this 5-step system for you in this presentation. This is the simple process that we follow every single time we work with a new teacher or we build a new product or we start to build a new audience. So it starts with step 1, which is identify. Step 2, which is multiply. Step 3, capture. Step 4, nurture. And step 5, sell. So in this prezzo, I'm going to walk you through each of these steps. I'll show you how to do it, and I'll give you some examples as well, okay? And like I said, you can always ask questions. All right, here, step number 1 is to identify. This is when you pick your audience wisely. This is something where a lot of people go very wrong. So let me walk you through this. So one of the biggest mistakes that creators make is to not know who they are actually trying to serve. And most of the time, that actually means that they try to serve everyone, but they end up serving no one. And I think this is a really powerful phrase. And I think, especially in the yoga world, people want to be extremely inclusive, right? Like yoga is for everyone. And I'm sure it is for everyone. But the problem is, oftentimes, if you try to serve everyone, you will end up serving no one. And another mistake that people make is that they serve people that don't want or need their help. And I'll go into more detail about this in a minute. What we've seen over and over again, observing our own growth and observing the growth of teachers online at all levels, is that if you want to make it online, and actually same for offline as well, you need to have a very clear idea of who you're serving. And again, like I said, the successful creators that we work with and the ones that you see online, they're really good at this thing. So I want to explain this to you or bring this point home by showing you a little or telling you a little bit of a story. I want to show you two different yoga teachers, okay? And I hope that this helps bring this point home. Let's look at Robin and Jesse. So we have Robin, who is teaching yoga for everyone, which sounds awesome, right? And then we have Jesse, who is a yoga teacher, and she helps golf players increase spinal flexibility to add 20 yards to their golf swing. Very specific, right? So Robin has a huge audience, right? She targets everyone, which sounds amazing because she can teach anyone, and there's an infinite amount of people, 7 billion, 8 billion, I don't know how many we have on this planet now, that she could potentially teach because she teaches everyone, right? Now, she also has huge competition because we have a lot of people from the US here, right? So in the US, there are around 250 million adults, so people that are above 18 years old. And there are 500,000 yoga teachers. That means for every 300 people, there's one yoga teacher. That's quite a lot, right? Because not everyone does yoga. Now, she also doesn't stand out because most of the yoga teachers that you see are doing yoga for everyone, right? They're yoga teachers. They want to teach everyone, and it's very noble. But it also means that you compete with every other yoga teacher because most yoga teachers teach or try to teach everyone. Now let's look at Jessie. Jessie has a smaller audience, only golfers. She has very little competition though, because how many yoga teachers do you know that help golf players increase spinal flexibility to add 20 yards to their golf swing? Obviously an extreme example, but she has very little competition, which means she stands out because there are not a lot of yoga teachers that do that and that actually provide such a specific service or that target such a specific audience. Okay. Now let's look at someone says they see the identity screen only. Anybody else who only sees the identity screen? The identify screen. Okay, but send a message or drop a message in the chat. Maybe there's something with your connection. Okay, cool. I love it that you guys put your location instead of your name. So I'm going to have to call you by your location. Okay, thanks, Denver. Okay, cool. Now we got, Oregon. Okay. All right, cool. So let's keep going. Now, let's look at what the consequence of this is, okay? The result for Robin is that she's not solving a specific need, right? So she's basically just saying, I'm a yoga teacher, you want to practice with me, right? Now, there are many alternatives to that because every yoga studio does that. Every yoga teacher can do that. So there is a lot of competition, like I said. And in turn, that means that there's very low demand because why would they go to Robin, right? Maybe if she gets a recommendation or somebody introduces her to another student or something like that. But on a general perspective, like there's no real reason to practice with her or him as compared to someone else. And that means that the market is going to dictate her rate. She's going to have a low income. And this is one of the reasons why yoga teachers are not paid well, because there are just so many. And let's look at what this means for Jessie. Jessie solves a specific need, which means there are fewer alternatives. There are less yoga teachers and other like wellness and health coaches that solve this specific need, which means that because there are few alternatives, few other people that provide the solution like Jessie does, there will be higher demand. And because there's higher demand, it means that she can charge high. she's going to have higher income, and she's going to be able to charge higher rates. Okay, so these are the basic economics, why it makes sense to narrow down your focus. Okay. All right, cool. So I hope that this helps you understand the reason why it's extremely important to narrow down your focus and choose a more specific audience. Okay. Now, if you do this, it has a lot of advantages. So I want to stress again that you are going to actually have a bigger audience to serve, because you're not like sharing the exact same audience with 500,000 yoga teachers. You're actually sharing it maybe with 500 or 1,000 in your country, let's say the US, because you're very specific, right? So even though you narrow down, and this is something that I really want to stress here, even though you narrow down, your audience actually becomes bigger because there's less competition. Okay. The other thing is then that you can actually ask more money, and you can earn more because people pay more for specific solutions, especially when there are few alternatives. Okay, cool. Makes sense. This is rad so far. Thanks, Prophet. Appreciate that. Awesome. All right, cool. So now you're probably wondering, how do we actually do that? Okay, so I'm going to give you a super duper simple method how you can do this. And guys, this is extremely simple, and I really recommend that you do this exercise. Even if you don't believe me, or even if you are not going to use it, it makes sense to actually do this exercise just for the fun of it. I believe it's extremely powerful, and we do this with every teacher that we work with. So there are two things that you do, okay? When you create your audience, it is made up of two factors. The first factor is a group. So you pick a specific group. My examples are terrible. I just couldn't think of anything else. But so let's say golfers or new moms or athletes, executives, could be retirees, whatever. Okay, so this is the group. Then the second part is the need. These groups will have specific needs, right? So I was given the example of golfers, so they might want to improve their golf swing, right? So that they can hit the ball further. And new moms might have anxiety, so they might look for anxiety relief. Athletes might need flexibility. Executives might need stress relief. I don't know, retirees might need flexibility, lower back flexibility, or whatever. So these are like just some examples. Okay, so this is what you have to combine in order to create your audience, and you need both. And I'll tell you in a minute why you need both. You need a group and you need a need. A lot of teachers make the mistake of only picking one. So they say, so yesterday in the call, for example, there was someone who was saying yoga for artists or yoga for creative people. That is a group, but you need the need. Again, I'll tell you in a minute why. Okay, now, when you have these two things, when you come up with this combination of group and need, there are actually 3 criteria that you need to follow, okay? And this is going to make it easier for you to determine whether you picked a good audience, because this is a question I get a lot. I got it a lot yesterday from a lot of people in the web class. They were asking, is this a good pick? So you can actually do this exercise and find out yourself by using these 3 criteria here. So criteria number 1 for your group that you chose, and you can maybe think about, if you have an audience that you target, think about it as I'm explaining this. Criteria number 1 is urgency or excitement. So how urgent do people need this need to be, or how urgent is it for people to address this need? So for example, moms who suffer anxiety, for them, they have a big urge. They want to resolve this problem, right? Maybe a hobby golfer who plays tournaments is very excited about improving their strength and how far they can hit the ball, right? So there needs to be this element of either urgency, they're in pain, or excitement. This is awesome. I really want this. If it's lacking, if your audience is lacking that, if you can't say about your audience, yeah, they definitely urgently need this, or yeah, they're definitely excited about it. If that's not the case, that's a red flag, okay? That's the first one. Now, the second one is ability and willingness to pay. This doesn't mean that you should only address millionaires, okay? It just means that you need to be conscious of the fact that if you provide a service to a specific audience, they're gonna have to pay you at some point, right? An example that I like to use is, if you want to provide fitness classes to small businesses, then you need to think about or find out, they're probably willing to pay. They have some money, right? But are they actually, they're able to pay because they have some money, but are they going to be willing to invest in this type of service? The artist example from yesterday is also a good one. When this person was asking about is yoga for artists a good idea, I remembered I used to live in Berlin, which is a very artsy city, and there's a lot of artists, but they definitely don't have a lot of money. So would they be willing to actually pay for specific classes for them, right? Think about that and just consider this. So that's the second one. And then the third one is easy to target. So this will become relevant when I show you in the next step how you're going to actually massively grow your audience. The absolute requirement for being able to grow your audience is that they need to be easy to target, which means when you think about your audience, do you immediately know where they gather, where you would find them, online or offline? So for example, golfers, that they go to golf clubs, so they're there. There's probably forums and Facebook groups and websites and all these places where they gather, and they're pretty easy to find and identify, right? If you think about, let's say, like 80-year-olds, maybe not so easy to find because they might not even have a smartphone, right? So you need to make sure that they're easy to target and that you will be able to find them. And I'll show you later why this is extremely important. Okay, cool. So this little exercise, I think, is going to help you a lot. And I'm going to say a few more words, and then, guys, you can already think about any questions that you have about this, okay? All right, so what happens then? So what happens when you start to be more concrete about your audience? First thing that happens is that it becomes much easier to find your audience online, right? Like you've selected a group that has a specific need, and you're now actually able to find them, to see and find out where they gather, right? The next one is that you will have little to no competition. Think about, I think it was Jessie with the golf teacher, with the golfer. She offers a very specific solution to a specific group. Admittedly, this is a very specific one. It doesn't have to be the specific, but the more specific it is, the less competition you will have, okay? And as a consequence, you'll be able to charge more. Or let's put it this way, you will be able to dictate the price. If you want to charge low, that's cool, you can do that, right? And if you want to earn more and be more appreciated financially and so on for your services, then you can do that because the market doesn't dictate your rate, but you will be able to do that. And that is going to be the foundation of your growth. Your audience, nailing your audience, based on this little kind of like system that I showed you, that is going to be the foundation of your growth. And I'll show you in the next step, which is going to be how you multiply your growth. Okay, cool. So let's move on to the next one. So step number 2 is to multiply your audience growth. So the thing that you might be asking yourself now is, great, Andy, but how is knowing my perfect audience going to help me reach more people? This question you might be asking yourself, right? Why is knowing my perfect audience going to help me reach more people? And I got you, because there's a tactic that we've been using and it's going to put your growth on steroids. And the absolute foundation of that, or the only way to use this tactic, is if you have created your target audience or chosen your target audience and it follows the criteria that I just mentioned. So I use this to grow Do You, and I know that a lot of the creators we work with, for example, Daniel Rama, I did a podcast interview with him. You can check it out on our YouTube channel. He's a yoga influencer, for lack of a better term, yoga movement coach. And we were talking about how he grew his audience, and he was telling me how he did it, and he was totally using this multiplier method as well without even knowing it. I use it to grow Do You, and it worked very well. And this is like an interesting thing. So instead of building your own audience from scratch, which sounds very tedious and so many people struggle with it, you will actually leverage all the audiences that already exist out there. And I know that sounds weird, so let me show you. I'm introducing to you the multiplier method, okay? The multiplier method is the method that will help you grow your audience, and you can do it without having to try to grow a YouTube channel or create tons of content. This is how you start in the early days, okay? And you can use it at any level, right? Yes, multiplier level is step 2, someone asked. Okay, cool. I didn't know this is a meme from a Brazilian soap opera. Okay. I love this meme. All right, cool. And it's not as complicated as this beautiful lady makes it look. So let me walk you through how the multiplier method works. So I just want to stress, this is provided that you have chosen your audience, okay? That is the absolute foundation, very important for this. Step one is you create a list of the top 100 people, influencers, or websites that your audience is following online. Those are your multipliers. I'm going to use I don't play golf, okay? I just use this as a total random example. So let's just use the golf example. For golfers, we would look at the biggest websites, the biggest media outlets, the biggest Instagram accounts in the golf segment, not golf, yoga for golf, but golf, okay? Because your target audience is golfers. Anyone who has the problem or wants to improve their swing, right? They could potentially work with you. So you create a list of 100 or even more, 200. I think my list was like 300 people, influencers, websites, outlets, YouTube channels, and you create that list, okay? So this is step one. Now, step two is that you sort the list from smallest to largest. So that means you sort it from the smallest influencer or the smallest, it doesn't even have to be an influencer. Let's say like someone who is a golf coach with 5,000 followers on Instagram. By the way, those are gold nuggets because they usually have higher engagement. They're very close with their community. So you put the small one on top, and then at the bottom, there will be like the golf magazine with 1 million subscribers or something like that, right? So you sort that list from smallest to largest, and then you start at the very top to build connections with your multipliers, right? These are your multipliers, and you start from top to bottom. So you start to maybe that 5,000 follower Instagrammer golf coach guy, like maybe you connect with him, you message him, or you leave some comments and you somehow like connect with them. You know how it is, right? Like somehow you get connected with someone and then maybe they start to feature you, or maybe they start to post something and tag you, and you slowly start to tap into their audience, and that way you drive them to your, I don't know if you use TikTok, Instagram, or you have an email list. That would be great, actually, if you had an email list. We'll get into that in a minute. And then from there, you start to build engagement and you work your way from the top to the bottom. And it's going to take a long time. This is going to take months. But actually, for me, it took years, right? Because my bottom, and I still haven't reached my bottom, like the very, very biggest multiplier on my list, because I have an audience of 7 million or something. But it doesn't matter, because wherever you are, whatever level you are on, you can work your way up, right? Like we launched a podcast and we started with Daniel Rama, who's I love him, great guy. And the next one will maybe be like an even bigger influencer and so on, right? And this way you start to get traction. And at first, you'll reach small audiences, but you move down the list and they get bigger and bigger. And like, not everyone is going to respond. Most people actually will not respond. But over time, more of your multipliers will respond to your messages, and maybe you get featured, you get tagged, you get maybe a guest blog post, or you maybe get interviewed for a podcast, until this turns into a flywheel and your audience grows exponentially. And this is how you can start to generate momentum. The thing is, this only works if you have a specific audience, because if you don't have a specific audience, there's no gravitational pull to you, right? If you engage with golfers and you don't have a golfer audience, obviously they're not, and you're just a general yoga teacher, there's really no reason for them to engage with you. And this holds for any type of audience. This one takes grit, but it works every time. I can guarantee you that this works. If you do this for a year straight, even just for a month, you will just see suddenly you get a follower here, a follower there, a comment there, a comment here. And it's exponential, right? It's going to go, how do you see this? So it's going to go like flat, a little bump, and then in the end, it just turns into what I like to call a flywheel. Okay, cool. So this is the multiplier method. And so far what we've done is we've identified your audience, we've created your list of multipliers, and we've reached out to multipliers. This is all stuff that you can do right away. And the next question is, where do you actually send people? What actually happens next? So I want to talk about that next. All right, let's talk about 3, capture. your future diehard fans. Now, some of you guys might have already watched the video that we sent out about lead magnets. Let me know in the chat if you've already seen that video. In that video, I talk about this particular thing that I'm going to walk you through now. So let's talk about the lead magnet. So what do you do after you've chosen your audience? You're like starting to get tractions from your multipliers. Then you want to actually have a place that you can send them to, right? Now, I want to point out two things, two big misconceptions that people have. And I want to make sure that you guys don't fall into this trap and you don't make this mistake. So number one is a big misconception that people have is that people with the biggest social media followings are the most successful and are the ones who make the most money. And this is false. Okay, this is just not true. We work with influencers on all levels, millions of followers and small ones. And I can guarantee you that it's not always the biggest ones that make the most money. I have a story at the end of this section it's at the end of the last section. But anyway, that's going to bring this point home. So it's important to growing your channels and your social channels and stuff like that. It's important because of one reason. And that is, actually, I'll tell you in a minute why it's important, okay? But it's definitely not because it'll make you the most money. So don't focus too much on becoming a big influencer, okay? There's actually more that you need to do. Or let's say there's actually a different thing that you need to do. And that can help you create abundance in your life without having to have 10,000 or 100,000 followers. The second misconception is that many creators and influencers are out there think that social media is a promotional tool that can be used to sell things. So this is also a misconception. If you use social media to sell stuff, it's gonna mess up your engagement because people don't like that. So actually, people don't like it. So using it as a sales tool is false too. And the reason is that Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, they don't want you to promote your products, okay? They want you to pay for ads. And people also don't like you to promote products. So you're basically pissing off the platforms and you're pissing off your audience as well. So using it as a sales tool is not a good idea. Now, there's a solution to this. There's a solution to the fact that maybe you don't need to really grow your audience, your subscriber base massively, and maybe you shouldn't try to sell stuff on social media either. And that is why you need to capture email addresses. So instead of trying to massively focus on the growth of your social channels, and instead of trying to push products or promotions onto people via your Instagram or whatever, the only thing that you should do is you need to capture email addresses, okay? And I'll show you why. The reality is that an email address is actually 50 times more valuable than a social media follower. And we see this over and over again with all the creators that we work with. The ones that have started to capture email addresses early on are way more successful in terms of generating income from their audience than the ones that focus only on building the Instagram, for example. And there are many reasons for this. For example, and you probably know this yourself, if you use social media, you have 1,000 followers and you put a post out, how many people are going to actually see it? If you have great engagement, it's probably 10 or 20%. That is epic engagement. But normally it's less. It's 1% or 5% or something like that, right? And it's different with email. If you have an email address and you're able to send emails to your audience, you will get a 50 times higher response, which then will also result in 50 times higher engagement and eventually 50 times higher income. So it's important that you capture email addresses. And this is actually why you need a lead magnet. And the lead magnet is basically the thing that you send everyone to, right? Like you've picked your audience, you've created your multiplier, and now what you do is you send people to your lead magnet, which is going to look a little something like this. I don't know, you guys might remember this, or some of you guys might have seen this particular screen already, because this is our lead magnet. This is the thing that we use to capture email addresses. So everybody who asks me about, hey, what is this thing that you do? I'm like, hey, go to doyou.com/makeit, or we point them to this exact thing, right? This is the place where we offer them I'll explain to you in a minute like what this is and how it works. But basically, this is where people drop their email address, and this is the only place that we send people. Okay. And I want to show you like how you set up a lead magnet extremely simply. It's very easy to do, and it's going to help you capture your particular audience more effectively, right? Because you want to make sure that you have a direct connection to them, okay? Now, a lead magnet is just a one-pager, and the way that you set this thing up is step one is to identify one thing that your audience is struggling with. So for the golf example, for example, what you do is you look at what is this thing that they try to do, right? Maybe the most important thing they want to do is to increase the range of their golf swings. And then you would focus on this thing, right? This is what you identify as the one thing that your audience is struggling with. Then what you do is you create a small freebie that helps them solve this problem, like a how-to video or an article or a series of emails. In our case, it's a series of emails combined with videos, but it could be anything, right? Like you could record a podcast, or you could, whatever it is that helps people solve this problem. And then once you're ready, you set up a simple website where people can just drop their email address, and in return they get their solution, they get the freebie, right? And this is the lead magnet. So it looks like this. And this is exactly what this thing does, right? This is a very simple one. We were like running like A/B test campaigns. And so this one was the one that worked the best. I guess people like this very short and brief one. And what we do is we make a promise how to help people get more students, more income, more freedom. And they get it if they sign up via the email. And this is what we do, right? Let's see. So I'm basically doing exactly what I'm preaching, right? This is the exact process that we use, and I'm just showing you the thing that's worked for us. And we have worked. Oh, sorry, that's actually a fourth step. So then let me add what happens then, right? Like you set up the lead magnet, and then once people signed up, you will point everyone instead of to a paid offer, which is a mistake that many creators and influencers make on Instagram or whatever. You send them to your freebie. Everybody will be sent there. In your bio, you put this link. And then once they signed up, you can start to nurture them via email and then gradually over time sell things. And I'll show you in step 4 and 5 how to do that. Okay, so we use this method to grow our email list of DoYou to over 1.5 million emails. Like we started out in the beginning, our lead magnet was a 30-day yoga challenge. And it was really successful and people loved it. And it doesn't have to be as complicated as a 30-day yoga challenge. For us, it worked very well. This was like 7-8 years ago. So today there are other things that work. And we've also used it to generate thousands of email addresses for Live in Leggings, for example. And like all the other creators that we work with, we do this exact same thing. And it's funny because that interview that I mentioned earlier with Daniel Rama, he was making fun of me. He was saying like, you're obsessed with email addresses, but he was always also saying that I've converted him to actually get much more serious about collecting email addresses, because we were running campaigns to his email address, so his email list and his social media, and he could see how much more revenue he will be able to generate from his emails than his social media, right? So converting people little by little to email. And by the way, one more thing, it doesn't have to be email. It could be maybe you have a WhatsApp group or any other way where you can directly engage with your audience is fine. Even a Facebook page, that could technically work too. The only reason why we use email is because it's the easiest and the simplest, and it's just a great way to connect with people. And it's still the most powerful like marketing and sales tool out there. Anyway, so we've picked the audience, we've selected our multipliers and started reaching out to them, and we're pointing them to our lead magnet, so we're growing our list. Okay, guys, these are the first 3 steps. Now, let's talk about step 4. That is to nurture. This is where you create your die-hard fans. Now, let me quickly get back to the point that I made. I said that emails are 50 times more effective in making people buy from you, right? So you could think, well, then I'll just sell something right away, but you don't want to do that, right? You first need to build trust with your email subscribers. It's super important that you do that. So it's like, before you do this, before you start selling, hear me out, like why this is important, okay? The way to do this is by giving before asking. It's very important that you build trust and show people that you are willing to give before you ask. It makes sense. Everybody everybody knows that you don't want to get sales campaigns all the time. So nurturing is extremely important. And I will show you how you can do this. And by doing this, you will build a community of hardcore fans, and you have to do this without actually having to come up with ideas or topics or ways to nurture them yourself at all. I'll show you how you do this, okay? When you do this whole, like when you capture emails, and in general, actually, this is something that you should consider. And a lot of marketers preach this. There should be a ratio between how much you give versus how much you ask, right? So we use this ratio of give four times before we make an ask. So we give 4 times before we try to sell something. But obviously, the more you give, the longer you give, the more you will get back, right? There's this guy called Gary Vee who talks about, I think he calls like Jeb Right Hook or something. So you just give and then you can ask. I prefer the give ask analogy, but yeah. So give as much as you can before you make an ask. And I'll show you the very simple process to do this. So how do you do this? So we've created the lead magnet, right? And what you do is when someone signs up to your lead magnet, you send them an automated email. And like whatever email tool you use, maybe MailChimp or something else, it'll have that feature. So you can add an automated email. And in that email, that's step 2, you ask people what their goal is and why they've been struggling with it. And some of you might already have seen this because this is exactly what I do with our lead magnet. You sign up to the lead magnet, How Not to Be Broke as a Yoga Teacher, and then you get an email from me that says, hey, tell me what your goal is and why you're struggling to reach it. And I read all of these emails and I respond to all of these emails. And it's super important. Like I actually track all the responses that I get, and then I categorize them based on what I want to grow my audience. I want to grow my income or whatever. So I categorize that. And what you hear now in this web class is based on what all of you guys have been requesting, the problems that you guys have. And based on that, I then put something together that hopefully will help you get there, right? So the topics that you see here are what a lot of you guys have requested, and that's what you want, right? Now, the cool thing is that I didn't have to come up with these things. I didn't come up with the topics for this presentation because you guys told me, right? I'm just feeding back what you guys have been asking. That is step 3. So after you've received the email, sent them the automated email, they tell you what they want to learn or what they struggle with. You can then feed the answers back to your email subscribers, for example, as a newsletter, or you can create a video about it and then send it to your audience. And that way, you're gonna feel like they're gonna feel like you're reading their mind, because you will answer questions to your entire audience, obviously not one by one until you want to, and they will feel like, holy crap, this person is really helping you solve my problems, and that's how you create trust, right? And that's how you create diehard fans, because you give them exactly what you want. Okay, cool. And these are all things that you can do right away. Like literally, this whole thing that I'm telling you right now, you can set that up in less than a day. And if I were you, I don't want to preach and tell you what to do. I'm just telling you, if I were in your position, in any position actually, I would do this. This is what I would do. Okay. I want to give you a quick example. This is the one that I mentioned earlier. So one of the creators that we worked with has about 20,000 subscribers on their email list, and they hadn't sold anything to their list in about 6 months. They were like, give, ask. So after 6 months, we ran a campaign to their 20,000 email list, and they made $125,000 in 5 days. And I'm not making this up. This is what happened. And it shows that when you build goodwill and when you build trust, people are going to ask you to sell them something. They're going to want more. They're going to want you to sell them something. And once you actually do, it's going to sell like sliced bread, because you've provided so much value, you've built so much trust that they're going to want to learn more from you. We have some questions, so let me see here. Okay. Is there a limit to how much you give? In an ideal world, you'll just give as long as you can. Maybe you give forever. If you had infinite funds, then you would just give, right? But most of us don't. We do need to make money. So as long as you can push out the ask, the longer you can push it out or away, the better. But it doesn't mean that you shouldn't ask. Obviously, you will ask at some point. But so the frequency that we do is about 3 months. So we run campaigns with the creators we work with about every 3 months. There are exceptions in different ways. We also have certain like marketing tactics where we use something like a small upsell. So it's like an immediate ask, but it's very small, but they get something very valuable in return for free as well. So there are like many variations to this, but like in general, I think adapting or adopting this philosophy is extremely important. Give as much as you can and then make an ask. Okay, yeah, the course was created with what you're teaching. It's true. Like all the stuff that I preach, I use it because it works. Except we don't have a product to sell right now, or nothing substantial. Okay, so value amount. Okay, so the question, is there a limit to how much you give, like a value amount? I think, guys, look, it's like this. Most people are never going to buy, and that's totally fine. I'm totally fine with you guys not buying. There will always, and again, there's actually nothing that I'm selling right now, but like 95% of the people are never going to buy. And it's fine, because the 5 or maybe 10% of people that do buy, they're the ones that, you know, that can maybe afford it and that are able to pay, and that's fine. And everyone else just takes the free stuff, and that's great. And I'll show you in the next section actually something that might blow your mind about what you're going to give away. Now, about okay, you guys are hilarious. Okay, value amount. So the question is how much value you give away. I'm not saying that you should give away anything that has a concrete value. Actually, David, I'll talk about this in the next section. I think then it's probably going to get a lot more clear. This is not about giving actual things away, right? This is about giving teaching and value away. I know this is a term that's used a lot, but at the end of the day, you give value. You give value and you get goodwill, you get trust, you get love, and you get community, and you get fans. Okay, and sorry guys that I'm not looking at the camera too much, because the camera's up here, then my presentation is down here, and you guys are here on the, so I'm trying to speak more in the camera. All right, cool. So let's talk about the last part of the system, which is sell without selling. All right, quickly recap. We went through identify, so pick the audience. Pick your multipliers that create the flywheel of traffic and gravity towards you. Set up a way to capture their email addresses, then nurture them. And now we're talking about selling. Now, let me ask you, and this is a rhetorical question, obviously, but I'm asking it for the effect. So who are the people you trust the most? Is it the people that are conditional and that only give you things under certain conditions and that are maybe secretive? They only tell you half of the truth? Or is it people that are open and honest? I think you know the answer. You will trust the people that where you have the impression that are open and honest, right? And let's look at you as a teacher, okay? I love this sentence. I love the sentence because I really think it's very true. The more things you don't share, the more people will think that you're full of shit. Okay. And the reason for that is that if there are things that you keep from people, if there are this part of your teaching, or if there are just generally like things that you keep from people because maybe you want to not give it away, but you think you want to be paid for it. If you keep that from people, they will think you're full of shit because they just don't know that all these things. They don't know that you have all this stuff to give, right? And that means that you should never sell the secrets. Maybe this answers a little bit the question that I got here earlier about what you should give away, what is the value. I think this probably answers part of this already. So you should never sell the secrets. Never sell and keep to yourself, unless people pays, the best stuff that you have to give. Don't do that. Instead, what you will sell, or at least this is my philosophy, is the implementation. So, for example, in the stuff that I publish in this presentation, if you look at my Instagram, at @itzoltan, by the way, or if you look at our YouTube channel and so on, like everything is there. Like I'm giving away, I'm sharing all the very detailed things that we do. And I'm not holding back or anything, right? Because I know that the real place or the real way to actually sell things is the implementation. So you sell the thing that they cannot or do not want to do on their own. Okay, I'll give you some examples of this in a minute because I think it might be a little bit too abstract. So know that once you start doing this, you will never have to justify why you are selling something, because you're giving everything that you know away for free. And if somebody wants help to actually get guidance, to take them by your hand, you by their hand, them by your hand, and you walk them through the process of getting to the goal step by step, like you give them the roadmap, then those are the people that are gonna want to buy, right? So they already trust you because you've given them all the secrets. Okay. Now, okay, I'm going to walk you through this process, how you do it, but I want to talk about it like for 20 more seconds to really bring this home, right? And show you the difference. So the difference is you might have, so for example, let's say you are a handstand expert and you want to teach people to do the handstand. All the tips and tactics or techniques and all the like secrets that you might have for getting better at teaching the handstand, these are the things that, in my opinion, you should be giving away, that you should be sharing online, that you should be like generously like spreading out there. And the thing that you can sell is to help people to actually use this stuff in a guided program, for example, to learn the handstand and to go on that journey to actually learn it. So you will basically just take them by the hand and say, hey, remember this thing that I shared for free? Now we're doing this. And this is you do it 3 times a week or whatever, right? So you sell the implementation. So let me give you an example, and it's a terrible example. Okay, I'm really sorry about that. My creativity like really let me down here, but just hear me out because I think maybe it helps. Here's an example. Step 1, you figure out the biggest goal that your audience has. So for example, weight loss. Step 2, you figure out the biggest roadblocks that people face when trying to get there. So now I'm giving you the process of how you make this distinction. Yeah. So here's the question. Exactly. So this is how the selling implementation would work. This is how you come up with a thing to sell that is based on the philosophy that I just told you, right? This is how you come up with a product that is based on implementation as opposed to selling the secret. Okay. So again, you figure out the biggest goal that people have. Now, what you do then is you figure out the roadblocks that people face when trying to get there. You gave them all the secrets already, right? But they're still not doing it. They're still not reaching their goals. Most people will not do it and they will not reach their goal because they need guidance and because there are certain roadblocks in their way that keep them from doing it. So now what you do is you ask them what these roadblocks are. Like, why are you not getting there? I already gave you all, you're not going to rub it in their face like that, but it comes down to this. What are the things that are still keeping you from reaching that goal? And in the like fitness and exercise, health, wellness segment, it's usually, we've done surveys with like millions of people, as audiences, right? And it comes down to always, they don't have the time, they don't have the motivation, they lack the consistency, they don't know how to do it, they need guidance, right? In this example, this totally applies. Somebody wants to lose weight. What's the roadblock? Why are they not getting there? It's because they don't have time to work out, workouts are boring, and they can't stay consistent, okay? So then now you know this, you know the goal and you know why people are not reaching it, even though you gave them all your secrets, right? So what you do is, because you want people to reach that goal, right? Like you want them to reach the goal. So you create a product that gets them to this exact goal by removing all the roadblocks they've been facing. So in this example, a weight loss program, again, terrible example, okay? A weight loss program with short sessions that fit into any schedule, using fun and versatile HIIT workouts, following a clear 8-week roadmap that'll keep you motivated and on track. So let me show you what I did there. We have the goal, which is the weight loss program. We have short sessions that fit into any schedule, which addresses that they don't have time to work out. Using fun and versatile HIIT workouts, which addresses the fact that workouts are boring. Following a clear 8-week roadmap that'll keep you motivated and on track. That addresses I can't stay consistent. Again, it's not a great example, right? But it's a technique for you to actually create a program that will sell like sliced bread because it addresses all the things that have kept people, thanks for liking the example, that have kept people from reaching their goal. This is when we work with when we build products for DU, when we work with creators, Daniel Rama, Liv and Leggins, David and Elena, Kino McGregor, whatever, This is how we design the products. We actually do it like this. We run an audience survey. So this is what other people will probably never share because it's top secret, but I don't care because I know that we sell differently. But what we actually do is we run what we call an audience survey. So you can do this too. If you have a little audience already, you can send an email to your audience. Actually, you already do it in the autoresponder, but if you haven't done it, let's assume you have your existing audience. You send them an email and say, hey, what's your biggest goal that you're trying to achieve and what are the roadblocks? And then they will give you this exact formula. They will tell you, hey, my biggest goal is to lose weight and my biggest roadblocks are 1, 2, 3. You look at all the data, you put it in a spreadsheet or whatever works for you, and then you get the biggest goals and you get the biggest roadblocks. And then when you sell your product, you already have a course or something. Most of the creators we work with, they already have courses. And then, or you create one, which is even better because then you can really nail down each of the roadblocks, like really create effective short workouts and really make them fun and really create a roadmap, like a guided plan that helps them get there. And when you have that, you are creating exactly what they're looking for, and you still give away all the secrets and they still love you because you gave it away for free. Now, obviously this would be the paid product, right? Now, bonus. So this is basically the survey that I mentioned, like the audience survey. You can find out the goals and roadblocks by sending a simple survey to your emails or social followers, and they'll literally tell you exactly what they want. And this is actually, did I put this in the presentation? Hold on. We use this method for every single creator we work with. We use it for Do You. And again, I'm not making this up. This consistently tripled sales conversions for people. Because what happens is when you have an offer, like you have a page where you present your offer, and people say, they click on the page because they say, you make the promise of, hey, you want to lose weight. I think it's a terrible example, but I have to keep using it. So let's use weight. And they click on the offer. And then as they read through it, every single roadblock that has been keeping them from reaching their goal of losing weight is being addressed in the offer. They're like, oh my God, yeah, it addresses everything that's going on through my head, right? Huge companies make this wrong, they get this wrong, or they don't do it. I don't understand why, but this is the tactic that we use, and it's super effective. That's all. That's the entire process, okay? The 5-step process. Okay, I'll do a quick recap of the process. You identify your dream audience by choosing a group and choosing a need that they have, and you make sure that it meets 3 criteria. There needs to be urgency or excitement. They need to be willing or able to pay for it, and you need to be able to target them. You need to be able to find out where they congregate, right? Step 2, multiply. So you create your multiplier list, your list of multipliers, and you choose 100 people, blogs, influencers, whatever it is that your audience would follow, okay? And then you start reaching out to them, starting with the smallest ones. And that's how you create momentum and engagement and so on. Step 3, capture. So you set up a lead magnet based on the biggest goal that people have, and you help them with a little freebie, right? So that they give you their email address. It could be a video, it could be a series of emails, it could be anything, right? Step 4 is to nurture. When they've signed up for your lead magnet, you're actually gonna send them autoresponder, and you ask them what's your goal and what are the roadblocks, right? And you're actually already capturing information that you can then later use to sell a product to, right? Okay, so then you nurture your list, you create diehard fans, you give, and then if you're ready or when you're ready and your audience is warm and they want more, you can sell. And you do that by selling the implementation because you've already given away all the secrets, and you totally should do that, in my opinion. And that's it. That's how you create a business that's gonna create abundance and a lot of cool stuff and fans and income and freedom in your life. This is the formula, guys. Yeah, so we're actually launching a free mini series on how to do each of these steps in more detail soon. We're shooting this stuff right now. I actually have to shoot it today, or at least part of it. If any of you guys want to have the link to the video that explains in more detail how the lead magnet works, you can add me on Instagram. It's Zoltan. Would love to see you there if you want. And we had another question. And guys, you have the opportunity now to think about your own situation. If you have any questions, just drop them in right now and I'm free and happy to answer them. So we have here pricing. All right. When you do campaigns, and when you sell a product, for example, the example that I just gave you, I would price it between $90 and $250. And I'm a marketer, guys. My goal is I will price things higher because it means I might have less customers, but I make more per customer and I can serve them better and so on, right? Another philosophy could be to make it very cheap so that more people can afford it. I know, especially in the yoga industry, this is something that people have in mind. But honestly, if you teach all the secrets, then you're already giving away stuff for free anyway, right? In terms of pricing, it really depends, 90 to 250 bucks. We've been consistently increasing the pricing of people and convincing people to charge more and charge higher. But yeah, that's that. One thing that I can say about pricing though, guys, is that people in this space tend to price way too low. And the reason why they're forced to do it often is because they are not unique enough. And most of the time, if you do like general yoga stuff, like you're not going to find people willing to spend substantial amounts of money, and then you end up selling stuff for 19 bucks, right? And we do that sometimes for like upsells and stuff like that. But as a general product, I would price it very high. And with all the creators we work with, we tell them go higher, go. And so I think our average purchase order price across like right now we work with 10 or 15 teachers, like higher level influencers. And I think it went like an average, it would be in the beginning, it would be like maybe $100 or 150. And now we're up to 250. But again, there are many reasons you could argue for either side, but this is the pricing that we use. Okay, like a 10-day course, let's say. The thing is like this is a big mistake that I used to make, guys. So I used to price based on content. So I'd say, okay, there are 20 videos and the videos are each 20 minutes long. And based on that, I would make the math, right? Forget about that. Don't do that. Because if you start to price based on content, you will always end up making way too much content and pricing way too low. And the thing is, people don't want to have to work through 100 videos. Like, you will actually give them more value if you create a product that is shorter but still gets them to their goal. Detach the price from the amount of content that you publish or the amount of content that the product actually comes with. Price based on the solution that you offer. Okay, that's important. One-on-one appointments, no, I don't do that. Sorry, but you can email me, man. Andy@doyou.com. Okay, so obviously this is something that I hear a lot. So the question is how can you justify that yoga is supposed to be based on donations versus deserving to have a successful business? This is like personal life philosophy, right? You can argue that you should live off of donations and then live a very simple life. Like at the end of the day, you're trying to make a living and you're trying to build a business around it. So you will make an ask at some point because you want to build a business. You want to also be able to share your message. You don't want to just disappear in obscurity because nobody knows or cares about you. And that's what's going to happen if you live off of donations. And you can, right? Like you can go to an ashram, you can do it. And I think it's amazing. I don't want to do it. There are people that do want to do it. But I think you have to, there's a reason why you're here, okay? So either you are struggling to build your business or you want to find a way to grow your business. There's definitely something inside of you that wants to create income in some way, create it from scratch or create more or whatever, right? And that to me means that you want to make money. And let's say you want to be that probably doesn't land so well. You want to be a successful yoga teacher, and if you want to be a successful yoga teacher, you need to make money, right? I don't think there's anything wrong with it if you follow this process. Okay, 90% of people are not going to buy from you, but you're still going to make them happy, right? And the people that do want to buy from you, they will buy from you. If you give, they will ask you to sell them something. Like when we did this campaign with the influencer who made 125K in 5 days, we launched an online platform for them. And people wanted to be able to practice online with them because they didn't have the chance before that. They had to go to the studio. So you're offering something that people want. So this is really something that you need to, in your head, realize that you're screwing yourself, in my eyes, if you let people who are judgmental and just don't have your best interest as their priority. If you have those people dictate what you do and what you do not do, I don't know. I feel like it's toxic, to be honest. But again, I'm a marketer, so I think it's difficult for me to really speak to that. But it's really a conversation I have every day. And in that podcast with Daniel Rama, we talk about that too. He's way better at explaining it. And he's a great guy because he's not trying hard at all. And he's not a crazy money driven person at all. But he's legit making high six figures with his business just by giving, and then occasionally making an offer. And he runs like his own platform and stuff like that. And it just happens. It just happens without you feeling like you're selling out or something like that. Okay, guys, thank you so much for your time. I super duper appreciate you coming here. You could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with me. So that really does mean a lot. And it was a lot of fun chatting with you. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy your day, and I hope you got a lot of value. Love and appreciate you all. And I'll see you in, I don't know, maybe the next web class or somewhere online, maybe on Instagram or something. All right. So you guys take care.